Welcome to Primetime, everybody, and welcome to the 31 Days of Primetime Roundup episode. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss. I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Carrie. How's it going, guys?
Going great.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is our second year doing the 31 Days of Primetime. If you guys don't know what it was, last year we did 61 days. This year we decided, you know what, 61 was a lot. Let's do the normal 31 days of primetime, but we're going through each decade from the 1930s to the 1920s. We each picked one movie, and we're going to review and rank those movies. So I'm super excited to get into this tonight. We are starting with the 1930s and 1940s, and I'm super excited to get into this.
Yeah, so we watched a lot of classics for this one, and we'll go ahead and get started with these 6 movies. Some a little familiar to some of us, and but a lot of unfamiliar here. So let's go ahead and start with The Mummy from, what is it, 1932? I want to say.
1932. Yep.
All right. Hunter, do you want to start with The Mummy?
Yeah, so this was a first watch for me. I have obviously heard of the Mummy and what that creature is, but I've never seen the original movie and did not realize that Boris Karloff, Frankenstein fame, plays the the Mummy. The how do you say his name? It's
Imhotep.
Yeah, Imhotep. I'm so bad at saying names like that because
That's his. I can't say Christian name, but that's his former name. And then he has a disguise in the movie and has a different name.
So I really like this movie. I really like how it doesn't go into more of the control aspect that I think it could have, but back then didn't really have movies that were exploring those type of stories. But I think for what it was, telling the control and the kind of how scary this mummy character actually is, because you never know who could be under his control. You never know who is actually who they say they are. And that's kind of the really cool thing about like something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, is that you're not sure who really is the person you're talking to and who is being controlled. So I love movies like that, and this one is a really great example of it.
Yeah. In that image, it actually kind of looks a little bit like Frankenstein. I keep forgetting that that's the poster for Frankenstein. And it fits because, Boris Karloff is also Frankenstein. I think this movie is interesting. The thing that it reminds me of, if, anybody has seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, is the episode Inca Mummy Girl.
Yeah.
Where it's basically he comes back as because apparently he wasn't properly mummified or something like that.
He was mummified alive, which isn't really how it works, but
and ends up coming back from a spell, reading the scroll of Thoth, and then apparently 10 years passes by and he impersonates, not impersonates someone, but kind of creates a character, I guess, of who he is to try and, I guess stay alive, but also get his own bride or something. And
we're big nerds if you can't tell.
Isn't he consuming people? Because I know that's what she does in the Buffy episode. Is she pretends to be a high school girl, but a foreign exchange student, and then starts sucking the life out of people just to stay alive. And then the episode is basically her and everyone else realizing what she is, and that she can't continue doing this because it's wrong. It's you had your time kind of a deal. And I feel like it's a similar situation with this, and he's trying to lure this one woman. And yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, but it's just one of those movies that I just found to be a little on the duller side of movies. So I just didn't really capture my attention a lot. Although I do love the aesthetic. I think Boris Karloff is great in it. Yeah, solid movie, I would say. Carrie, what do you think?
Yeah, I really like this one. This was a first time watch for me too. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes the original Universal monster movies, like I guess more so the sequels, but they can be a little hit or miss. But I think this one was really good. I think some of the shots were really cool and spooky. The way they did Boris Karloff's makeup in this movie was really cool. Like those scenes where it just like flashes to him and he like looks like a mummy. Those are really cool. Yeah, I don't know. And the themes of this movie, like you were talking about Control Hunter and kind of you know, just the role of women in this movie was pretty interesting. How the main woman is basically like a reincarnation of the Egyptian no, Egyptian woman who was mummified and like Imhotep was obsessed with. I don't know. I really like this one though. Like
Isis, goddess Isis. Is that her name?
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Not to be
Sorry, I,
confused
I,
with
I
the
have the
other
Wikipedia page pulled up just to be sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely watch this one again. I can see like why this was, I like watching these, you can see why they were so popular in their time and like spawned so many sequels and are kind of the basis for a lot of our monsters today.
Oh yeah.
Sure. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next movie, which was The Bride of Frankenstein, another James Whale movie. This was 1935. And yeah, I think some would probably argue this is one of the great horror sequels. And it makes sense why. I love how they choose to continue the movie after the ending of the original Frankenstein, which kind of seems a little bit like, final. But then they decide to, I don't know if they really retcon it a little bit, but, they decide to continue after that with having both Henry and Frankenstein's monster survive. But the opening too is like really fantastic. I love how it's kind of meta with Mary Shelley talking with, I don't know, like her brothers or her friends or just acquaintances or something like that, and they're all talking about the original Frankenstein. It's almost like a Gremlins 2 kind of situation where they're like talking about the first movie and they're like, she's like, I have more of the story to tell. And then, it continues and then it's like, oh, actually they're alive. I love how they continue the story with showing, giving more like, I think, depth and character growth for Frankenstein's monster. Because I guess you could probably say in the original one, he was very one dimensional. And then, it ended up being like a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing where he gets,
To be fair, he was just born yesterday, so
where he gets chased. I mean, it's a great point, Hunter. He's born yesterday, and then he gets chased into a windmill, but then survives, and then gets to and then gets chased again, and then escapes, and then ends up hanging out with the hermit who teaches him stuff. And
I
then
love those scenes.
much later, we'll get similar thing with when you get to Halloween and the Revenge of Michael Myers, which will get a very similar kind of thing with Michael. But yeah, I love how the hermit and Frankenstein's monster have this relationship. He's teaching him how to talk, smoke, listen to music and dance and stuff. And then you're kind of wondering is like maybe the monster is going to end up getting, becoming like civilized, go into society and you just live and, kind of like how young Frankenstein is, where he just ends up reading the newspaper in bed. But it doesn't go that way, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, whatever, however you look at it, Frankenstein's monster decides that kind of like a big like Stephen King thing, sometimes dead is better, where it's like he's not supposed to be here. This is not something that should be, and he realizes that, which is kind of sad because he's a new creation, kind of a new life in a way, and then realizes that he just doesn't belong. And I think that's really sad, and I find it very because you also get like Pretorius, who is the like big villain of the movie, where he's like trying to control everyone and get this bride created, and then even the bride is like, with the monster, and you don't even see the bride until the very end, which is a very iconic shot, like in cinema, and I love that whole kind of sequence with her getting born, and then Frankenstein's monster, the bride, and Pretorius all die because from Frankenstein's monster's hand. I don't know. I think this one's a really epic one. I really like this one. Carrie.
Yeah, this one is really cool because it did a lot of the things that the original Frankenstein movie didn't do and didn't incorporate from the books, like all those scenes with the old man and his cabin and Frankenstein's monster kind of learning things and realizing that he wants a mate. Like that's the only way he feels like he can maybe have a place in the world.
Yeah.
And then also like the cool addition of actually having the Bride of Frankenstein. So yeah, this is just a classic. It's really fantastic. It was a rewatch for me, but always a pleasure to watch this one.
It really is. Carrie, I like how you brought up the book because it's kind of funny because in the book, it's like completely different where it's like the Frankenstein's monster not only is smart and like, really intelligent, like talking about philosophy and stuff, but he also like, I think if I remember correctly, like travels the world and stuff and, just goes different places and whatnot and has a lot more agency than he does in the movies. Am I not right on this?
I don't know. It's been a while since I read the book.
I really want to see Frankenstein on a boat. Just put him on a yacht and just let him go.
Frankenstein in a Lonely Island video. Let's make it happen.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Hunter, what do you think about this one?
This was a first watch for me. I, of course, have heard that this is one of the greatest horror sequels of all time, and I kind of have to agree. It's in my top 5 favorite horror sequels. It's nice. What it does so well is, as Chad and Carrie said, it took what made the original movie so good, which was the fears of what happens when a man tries to play God, and now what happens when someone does make a creation. The second one is what happens when that creation starts to learn and to develop and to want to mate. And then also you have this really cool evil scientist on the other end who is kind of the opposite of Dr. Frankenstein, because Dr. Frankenstein wanted to create a monster to fulfill an ego, yes, but also to be a true scientist and be like, how can I make this work for not only me, but for humanity? But on the opposite side, you have this other mad scientist who is doing it just for himself, just to be like, I'm the greatest. And you have this really cool battle of the two scientific minds. But also, I love how much time we get to see the Frankenstein's monster learn and to develop with the hermit, and how he's teaching him words. I do find it funny that this movie becomes a PSA for pro smoking halfway through the movie. They're like, smoking good. And I'm like, really? Is it? Okay. This movie is great. I kind of thought The Bride of Frankenstein was in the movie way more, but I love that we get to hear about this bride. We get to, anticipate what the bride's going to look like. And then this big giant reveal is the end of the movie. Like, we don't get a lot of time with her, but she made such an iconic, entrance that we remember this movie because of that scene.
Yeah. Hunter, friend.
I
don't.
Sorry,
Good.
I absolutely love the beginning of this movie where that old woman is just going crazy, and Frankenstein comes up from the behind her. She just turns around, yells, and runs the other way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, is because I remember when you were watching it, you were telling us about all the comedy that you were enjoying. Was that one of the big parts of that?
Yes, yes, I absolutely love that this movie balances comedy in a right way that I think some older movies from the 30s don't. I think they kind of go too slapstick with it. This one found a perfect balance.
Yeah, I love when you find like a really good classic movie that's able to really balance that comedy. I'm looking it up. Yeah, Hunter. If you have not seen 1944's Arsenic and Old Lace, that is a movie that it's actually would be a great watch for around now too, because it's sort of a Halloween kind of thriller, but
What's
it's
it
like it's
called?
a comedy. Arsenic and Old Lace. It was actually a play that I was in back in high school. It
Ooh,
stars
okay.
Cary Grant in it, and it actually doesn't have Boris Karloff in it. No, it has Peter Lorre, and it has I think no. He looks like Boris Karloff, and they make a lot of jokes about how he looks like. Yeah, it's Raymond Massey. I don't know. I'm getting too far in the weeds here, but I will say it is a very good comedy that you should watch. Another great classic
Okay.
movie. I wouldn't call it a horror movie, but it's a really great thriller, like around Halloween time to watch, and it's just really funny.
Okay, awesome.
Anyways, and it plays with like the structure of plays and stuff like that. It's really fun. Carrie can back me up. All right, so
Learning a lot about Chad's lore in this episode, aren't we?
yeah, yes. All right, let's move on to the next movie, which is The Demon Barber of Fleet Street: The Adventures of Sweeney Todd, from I think it's just called Sweeney Todd: The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, from 1936. And yeah, this one's an interesting one. I think this is appropriate. I think Carrie should start with this one.
Okay, yeah. Prior to Chad picking this, I did not know this movie existed. I thought Sweeney Todd like kind of originated with the musical, not the musical movie, but like the stage musical.
The song,
So
yeah.
this was very interesting. It's hard to get through, but also I've just found this movie really interesting because I think most of us are familiar like with the stage musical and with the is
The
it
Johnny
Tim
Depp.
Burton? Yeah, Johnny
Burton.
Depp movie adaptation, which is very different from this version. Like, there's just a lot. I guess I won't go through them all, but there's a lot of differences in the plot generally. Like a lot of the same characters, but they have different relationships to each other. So yeah, this one was interesting, I think, for that. I do think Sweeney Todd in this movie is actually pretty creepy. Like he was kind of creeping me out. Like I was like, yeah, this guy is a little scary and evil. So that was really cool. So yeah, it was a little bit hard to get through, but I still like having watched the newer musical first, watching this one was just interesting to see the differences and to see it being done in like, the 1930s.
Just really quick to throw out there, because Carrie brought up the idea of people might not knowing where the origin of Sweeney Todd comes from. And I actually looked this up a while ago and was like, whoa, okay. So Sweeney Todd, well before the 1930s, actually, in the 1800s, was a character from like British, like Penny Dreadfuls.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
So just a really creepy character that they created, and then went on to have movie adaptations and a whole musical created and stuff. So, Hunter, what do you think about this one?
So I kind of had the same experience I had last year when we talked about the original Little Shop of Horrors, and that is I thought this movie was going to be a musical, and it wasn't, and that's because I just think of Sweeney Todd as the stage musical and the movie adaptation, and it's completely different. Like Little Shop of Horrors and this one, they have similarities to their source material, but they change up a lot of things that make it worth watching. This movie is very entertaining. I don't know how great of a movie it is. I do agree with Carrie that the middle kind of slows down a little bit for me, and that's where we don't get a lot of the killing scenes, and we don't get a lot of the, interesting plot of who Sweeney Todd actually is. I think that's where it kind of dips down a little bit for me, but I found myself really having fun and not really looking away from the screen that much. It really kept my attention, but towards the middle, it does kind of slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I do like because I mean you have to compare this to the musical.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that you brought up the Little Shop of Horrors because I
Mm-hmm.
remember like watching that one and just being fascinated that Roger Corman like created that
Yeah,
whole concept thing, and then they created a musical, and then now everyone just knows the musical, and to
Rick
go
Moranis,
back
yeah.
and yeah, and to go back and see how the original movie, I'm like, well, is this gonna work as a not as a musical? And then I'm like, yeah, it works as like just a general like horror movie, just like with a really cool concept. Um,
Yeah.
but it also works when you add music and you just like make an entirely different thing.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, I'm sure you could do a Sweeney Todd version without the music, and it's fascinating and just really fun to watch and interesting and stuff, and has great characters. I don't think this adaptation had a lot of that. First off, I don't know. I mean, maybe there is a version that we just didn't watch, but I feel like this movie just did not look that good.
It
Um,
didn't.
there's a lot of like 30s and 40s movies that you can watch. Some that are in this slate that just really, really look fantastic, even still. And this one, I'm like, I have no idea if it just wasn't, protected.
That's what I think it is. I actually think because it was a British movie back in the
Mm,
day, they didn't really know
take
how to translate to an American, I guess, audience in a way.
Well, I mean, oh, okay. Well, you're talking about like an adaptation, like story. I'm talking about like
No, no,
the
no, no. Like the actual film. I mean, like
oh,
translating the film
like
overseas.
like transferring it from film to like digital and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's where, yeah, I think like the stream, whatever it is, it just did not look that great. And then yeah, it was. I think one of you definitely like brought this up and talking about like the character like relationships, and it is just very different here. I think like in the musical, which is one of my favorite musicals, I love that movie, the Tim Burton movie. I think they like Todd and Mrs. Lovett had kind of like a relationship in that one where they're like a thing for a second, and then it takes kind of a tragic turn, and he becomes even more murderous and stuff. And that happens here, but I feel like they really dive into the villainous aspect. Whereas in the musical, I think they nail more of the tragic aspect, that he was the
mhm,
barber that was, his wife was taken advantage of, assaulted, and then, he lost his daughter, and, no one knows who each other are, and the family was just basically uh, torn up,
mhm.
and that it's such a tragedy, but then he becomes villainous because he wants revenge, pure revenge and stuff. And yeah, I don't know, I think the music and everything just adds to it. I think Sondheim did a fantastic job creating that musical, writing the stuff. I haven't actually seen the musical in its actual musical
Mhm.
stage form. I want to, but I have seen the movie, and I love what Tim Burton did with the movie. Apparently, Sondheim approved of the movie too. But here with this one, just as a straight up movie, I found it not to have like great pacing, not to be that interesting, and I couldn't really get over the fact that it was just hard to watch. As the cinematography just wasn't great, or the
Mhm.
transfer, whatever it was, wasn't really great. And
It was
yeah,
really hard to tell what was going on, especially by the end of the movie when everything is reaching its climax. It was
yeah,
really hard to see what character was which, because
yeah.
it's not only is the the film quality not that good, but they're in like a dark basement as well.
Mm,
So that just doesn't translate. You're like, all right, which character is which here? Like, and the ending, I kind of have a issue with it. Just kind of abruptly ends.
mm,
Like, there's no really. I do find it funny that the guy just looks at the barber that's
yeah,
telling the story and just walks off. I
yeah,
love a good walk off moment. It's so funny, but then the movie just ends there.
yeah. Carrie and I were having a good time with that, as like it was being told as like a story to a guy getting a haircut, and then
Mhm.
he gets so scared from the story that he runs away, like scared of his barber that just told him that story. But yeah, at no moment I was just waiting for someone to go Johanna, and no one did.
Yes.
Like, oh man, now I just want to watch the Tim Burton movie. But yeah, so we can move on to the next movie, which was The Invisible Man Returns from 1940. So now we're in the 40s, and this one, just want to just add, this one's interesting because last year during our uh, 61 days. We were very ambitious last year. We
Mhm.
actually covered the original The Invisible Man. And so now I believe Carrie was the one that picked the sequel. You'll see that theme that Carrie picked a lot of sequels, which is fun because, not all the time do we, I should say, decide to check out some of the mini sequels and the franchises and stuff. So, um, it's good to start. So yeah, Hunter, do you want to start with this one?
Sure, this is a first watch for me. I really love this movie. I love a story about an great or an innocent man who then is forced through circumstances to kind of lose his mind, because it shows what a not only circumstance, but in this case what this power of being invisible can do to somebody's psyche. I love the acting in it. I love the really cool cinematography and the way that they're able to show him being invisible, especially through like the rain and the using the smoke to clear him out, and you really see these really cool silhouettes and things like that. I think it's really really interesting. The story I think is really great. I don't know if it ties into the original movie or if this is a brand new character. I know that the doctor is named Griffin. I don't know if that's his brother or if
His
that's ever
brother,
been.
yeah,
It was okay.
the
See,
scientist
yeah.
was his
See,
brother.
I, I don't know if it was really told, but I didn't really put two and two together. But I do like how it's kind of following an overarching storyline as well of just like what happens when someone gets this extremely useful power, and most of it is it will drive people insane. I think the dinner scene in here is a great scene because it's three people sitting at a table just talking, but the way that is it Vincent Price who plays the Invisible Man, or is it
Yeah.
yeah, the way that the Vincent Price, he gets more and more intense the way he's talking, and he gets more and more crazy. He starts off normal, then he starts talking about dominating the world, and it's just this continuous, just like anxious feeling of like this man is going insane. And it's what happened in the last movie as well. I love the fact that it, his scientist friend takes him out with a poisoned drink. He's like, "Have another sip of wine, sir," and he just like passes out. I don't know. This movie is really fun. It's really good. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah. So the scientist was the original Invisible Man's brother,
Mhm.
but the main character who becomes invisible in this movie is the scientist's like friend. So that's why he's
Oh,
helping him. And then also, and I mean, he knows about the invisible
mhm.
serum and stuff and the effects of it. And then the Invisible Man in this movie, his brother was killed and he was framed for doing it.
Right.
And so
I
it's a
watched this
whole
movie. I promise.
No, it
yeah,
was confusing. Chad and I were
yeah,
a little confused too. We
yeah,
had to
yeah,
like
we
look it
were.
up.
We looked it up, yeah. And so I mean, yeah, you definitely proved that you watched the movie. But uh Yeah, I like how I mean, and you actually had a lot of really great things to say about why this movie is actually better than the original Invisible Man. And it's because not only is it showing like someone losing their mind, but like the original Invisible Man, he was kind of just crazy from the beginning, and then he
Yeah,
just like kept wanting to hurt people and kill people, and do all this crazy stuff and evade capture. Not and at the end, he kind of went like, "Man, I was crazy, wasn't I?" And then he dies. But like here, you get to see a guy who, like you said, Hunter, is innocent, is trying to like clear his name, but then is has so many people who are you trying to say that he did this and come after him, that he's got that pressure on him, and now he's got the invisible thing and the frustration from that and all this stuff, changing him for the worse.
I also love that there's a time limit set. In
Yeah,
the At the very beginning of the movie, you learn if we don't find a cure for this, it will drive him insane. So
yeah,
now you have, from the beginning of the movie, you have okay, this is what happens, a ticking time clock to be like, all right, this is what happens if we don't find the cure.
exactly. And you get to see him come back from that, and like
Mhm.
you know and you care about him doing that. And it is crazy to see, like, Invisible Man, like, holding people at gunpoint and stuff like that, and how they play with, the one guy knows he's there, but the cops and people like their
Yeah.
security, they don't know he's there. So, um, it's just a lot of really interesting dynamics there. There's also some good comedy. I feel like there's like one like cop or something, or some kind of character that keeps making a lot of jokes throughout, and like really funny
There's
one.
usually one. I've noticed that by watching a lot of these 30s and 40s movies. There's a lot of cops that are like the comedic relief in these movies.
What is the one? It was something like Bob, you have it, or something like that. It's like, oh hey Bob. What was the joke? Oh my god.
I remember one joke. It was like they like spray the area, and the investigator's already gone, and the cops, like deputies, like, he's not here, sir, and he goes, Bob, you never you never seem to surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some good comedy in this as well. Just like the performances, I think, just really great. So yeah, I think this is one of the great sequels. So we got two great sequels in this one. And
Both from Carrie, I believe, right?
I chose
With
Invisible
Bride.
Man Returns, but not. I
who
think
chose
you chose
Mummy?
Bride.
Okay.
Did I choose Bride?
Hunter chose
Yeah.
Bride, and you chose Mummy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, okay.
So yeah, I
Mummy.
feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but I'll let Carrie talk and see if it comes to me.
Sure. Yeah. I agree with you guys. I really, really like this one. I was really surprised because I had never heard anyone say this Invisible Man Returns is a great movie. You should watch it. But yeah, I like you guys. I like this one better than the original Invisible Man. Just something about, I think, having a character that you're actually rooting for the entire movie and who's sympathetic and you want him to not be insane, and it's like you can see him going insane, and the movie has a lot of tension build up because he is clearly going insane, but he's just straddling that line almost the whole movie where he'll start to go insane in that dinner scene and then kind of snap out of it and come back to himself. And just the whole plot with him being an innocent man and he's trying to escape but also solve his brother's murder, so there's a mystery element to it as well. Yeah, overall really good. Very young Vincent Price, who is really fantastic in this movie. Even though you don't see his face until the very end, but it seems like it's his voice at least, and probably his body, I think, for most of the movie.
Sure it is.
Yeah,
It sounds
so
like Vincent Price at least.
definitely. So yeah, this is a great watch.
I love the ending of this movie. The transition from invisible to human. It was different than it was in the original. In the original, he just kind of appeared. I love how this one, it just, the cure was the blood transfusion, and you see like the blood vessels and stuff as he like reforms.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they do that as in the original, but I think they add more layers maybe in this one.
Maybe you're right. Yeah.
Because I know they show the skull and stuff in the first one before he just appears, but here,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's more detailed. At least looks better. I feel like in this
Yeah.
Yeah.
one. And I did find the joke. It was someone goes, "That's just the way it was. So help me, Bob. Wasn't it Bob?" And the guy right next to him's name is Bob. That was it. And that's like in the opening scene, and I was like, "Oh my god, this movie's funny so far."
You're like, I love this movie for based on that joke.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, this was just an enjoyable watch throughout. So I think we all enjoyed this one. All right, moving on to the next one, which is The Black Cat. But which one? The 1941 Black Cat, the one that has a lot of cats in it. 'Cause I think
Mhm.
the original one doesn't have many cats at all, really, in that
Which
one,
is weird based on the title, you would think.
from what I remember. And this one's about a lot of cats, and it's also about like a main black cat that's like, kind of like a curse kind of a thing. Yeah, I guess I'll start with this one, right?
Yeah.
It's on
Yeah.
me. This one's interesting. I like that it's kind of like a mystery, who's trying to not trying, but successfully kills this old woman that
Mhm.
is, like she's rich, she has a mansion, she has all these heirs, and she's kind of like, playing with them, I guess, a little bit. And she's like, I'll give you 100,000, give you 100,000,
She
you get
says,
the house.
says one of them to the husband, "I'll give you $10,000 just for staying."
And like she has like some strange caveats, like she's kind of like us, but like way worse, where she like hoards cats. We have a lot of cats, but she actually like hoards cats, and they're just
Mhm.
everywhere. And even like I guess she's almost like she's like dying or whatever, but like one cat drinks the poison before she's poisoned and dies, and she's just like, oh shit, kind of like, oh well, I guess you'll join your ancestors. And I'm like, oh my god, your cat just died. You're not
Yeah.
emotional about this? And she's like, eh. And then she's just like, you guys won't get your money or something until all the cats are passed away.
The cat aspect is, I need someone to take care of my cats when I'm gone.
Hmm.
So as long as she's alive, none of you get your
Yeah,
portion.
but I feel like then wouldn't you want the cats to continue to be taken care of after she died? I don't know. It's just it was kind of weird to me a little bit, like how they formulated that plot, but it kind of reminded me a lot of Knives Out, where you have all these, characters, and
Mhm.
they're
Mhm.
kind of spoiled, but where this doesn't go, Knives Out does.
Mhm.
So in comparison, Knives Out, I think, is brilliant because if you even like look back at today, or then to today, and like compare, it has still a lot to say about like today, because we're so divided as like a country,
Mhm.
like politically and everything. And there in Knives Out, they're also like that, and they're continuously like fighting each other and stuff. And then you realize that even though that they're all kind of like divided, they
Mhm.
still or they all are kind of the same, because
Mhm.
they're all united in trying to get over on this old man, to get his money and stuff. And that's kind of like this same thing here. And then one person turns into a murder mystery. Like one person is trying to kill that woman and kills the grandma.
I,
And
I actually had that same thought watching this. I was like, man, this is giving me Knives Out vibes. I was
I
like,
know.
because it's more about like a whole family in a house trying to figure out who murdered a leader of the house.
Yeah, but in this one, I don't feel like they give much development to like the
Mhm.
characters to make it like really, make a lot of them stand out and stuff like that. So I feel like they're not cops, but they're just like guys. I think they're trying to like get like a deal.
I think the main guy is trying to buy the house, so
Yeah, 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 yeah.
he's like a real estate agent trying to buy the house to resell it.
Yeah, so they're trying to like take advantage of the situation and stuff.
Mhm.
I found their characters more interesting, especially the guy that's like walking around, just
He
trying to like
somehow doesn't turn around or get surprised when the wall starts moving.
because he like sits there and he's like reading something and then he just moves and he just like I don't know. I love like the slapstick of that and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I found this like a pretty enjoyable watch for the most part, but ultimately just not as solid as some other like mystery movies that I've seen that are like this. And then it also kind of talks dirty about black cats a little bit and kind of, makes that a thing where it's like, oh, the black cat comes by, that means trouble. And I'm like, we love black cats in this house. So, Carrie, what do you think about this one?
It was an interesting murder mystery. Not my favorite. I think of the movies that we watched, just a little bit like forgettable, but yeah. I'd watch it again probably because I don't even now really remember like who the murderer was and everything. So it'd be exciting to watch again.
There you go. That's great. Hunter.
So I watched this one today, so it's kind of still fresh on my mind. This movie I thought was fun. It was a really fun murder mystery, as everyone's been saying. You're kind of following clues and trying to figure out who did it. The black cat never made any sense to me. I don't know if it's a curse or if it's ever said what it's supposed to detail, but I never got the significance of that. But I love the like the realtor who's trying to get the deal. There's a scene where he's trying to get with this woman of like I think the granddaughter, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll go out there." And then the wind starts blowing. He's like, "You know what? I would hate myself if I didn't stay here and make sure you were okay." So he's such a good little like weasel character that I absolutely had fun with.
Yeah.
Not high on my list by any means, but definitely not the worst one I've seen of the six.
Yeah, I feel like this one could actually be remade in like a Knives Out style fashion, and
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
it would be fun to like sit there and like cast,
Give
certain
me
people
give
in
me
the.
Mike Flanagan's version of the Black Cat.
Yeah, he would have a lot more cats die probably, knowing
Oh,
Mike.
he would.
But but yeah,
He's like, my time has come.
it would be kind of really fun to have like a more of like a slapstick like old woman that's just like, are you pieces of shit? You're trying to whatever. I just think it'd be like really funny to remake this. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I would recommend it to be honest, but if you do watch it, I don't think you'll have a bad time.
No.
So yeah, all right, let's move on to our final movie. I think this is one of the better ones. The Uninvited from 1944. Carrie.
Yeah, this is like very much a classic haunted house movie. Brother and sister are vacationing and they stumble upon this old house that they wind up buying, and it turns out to be haunted. And there's like, a lot of mystery behind the haunting, like why it's haunted and the characters involved. And yeah, I really like this one. This was a rewatch for me and Chad, but we've only watched it once and it was like 2 years ago. So I'd kind of forgotten some of the parts of the movie, especially kind of like the mystery at the end. So it was like really exciting to watch again. And I think the acting is really good and everything.
This is actually my least favorite that I watched.
Wow.
And I think it's mostly because I don't really find myself enjoying haunted house supernatural movies as much. I just can't seem to connect with those movies as some people would. This movie's not bad by any means. I'm not saying this movie's awful. It just didn't connect to me in a way where I felt inclined to continue watching it. It felt kind of like kind of hard to get through for me because I was like, this movie's got some boring moments that like it's really hard for me to watch. That's just a personal thing. I don't really find myself attached to, a lot of haunted house movies, so that could have played a lot into it. But this is my least favorite, but it's still a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this one. It is slow, but I think it's on purpose. I think it's like taking its time to like build the
Yeah.
characters, build the like the setting, that like the house, which is also like kind of like a character in itself. And I love kind of stuff like that. It's like why I love Ty West before he started making all of the Maxine X trilogy stuff, where I was like, this dude is the best at like making slow burn horror, where you're waiting in the anticipation of like something to happen. And I love how this one, you get the setup, and then you get the house is haunted, and you get like the kind of like slow build of like things happening, and they slowly start to realize something's actually going on. And it's funny because it's like, who's going to be the Scully, who's going to be the Mulder, and like one of them is like, oh, it might be the wind, or something like that. And it's like, we just heard someone crying downstairs. No one was downstairs. And
Obviously, the wind.
yeah. And then because they had was she like one of them's their mothers or something like that? But she was going upstairs, with their cat, and her cat wouldn't come upstairs. She's like, huh, well, you'll find me. Candles going out, just like, really creepy stuff happening, but it's like in a very 1940s way. Even when they do have a ghost show up, it looks very like 1940s, like old effect. But I actually kind of like that. I think it looks like a little kind of cheesy, but also kind of in a way like maybe that's how a ghost would actually look. It's like it doesn't come in full form, and it just looks kind of like superimposed or whatever there. And yeah, I like the whole story with the next door girl who like grew up in the house, and then the whole who is the ghost actually kind of a deal, which I think is a really cool mystery. And then it turns out to be an evil ghost. And the mother, I think the real mother wasn't the one that they originally thought it was. And it was actually like the mistress was her real mother, but she was the good one or something like that. And then they have like a legitimate, like creepy Ouija board scene in this. I think they make their own kind of like makeshift Ouija board, and it's actually kind of cool. So yeah, I like the style of it. I like the pacing of it, but I do agree that it's if you're not into haunted house movies, you're not into slow films, you might find it to be a little challenging. But I think sometimes those also make the best movies. Like, compare this to something that's just doing a jump scare every 5 seconds or whatever, and just those can get a little tiring and stuff. So I guess it just depends on like what experience you want to have. And I think this one does a great job with like the build and the payoff and stuff. So
yeah,
I think
I'm also very intrigued to go back and rewatch it to see if maybe I changed my mind.
I think we got a lot more out of it on the second watch, or at least I did. So I would say, like, if you do get a chance at some point, also because we have it on Criterion and stuff, so I want to go through and watch all the special features and talk about it some more on my other channel maybe at some point soon. But yeah, this one's great, I think, and so now we've all talked about it. We can go on to do our rankings. We started this the last year when we did our 61 days. We ranked each slate. We'll rank all 6 movies. And what I'm doing, and if you guys want to do too, I think it would be really fun, is keeping like a going ranking. So at the very end, we'll have a ranking of 31 or 32 films, whatever we want to do, if we're including Halloween and Hocus Pocus. I
would love that.
I think Halloween will probably always still be my number one, but we'll see.
Didn't we do that last year as well? We did our 61, our top 61 movies.
Yeah, so this one will be a little bit easier. It's less movies, but
yeah,
So we're going to give you our individual rankings, and then Carrie is going to tabulate our overall ranking. So Hunter, do you want to start with your 6? Just go ahead and give it from your weakest to your best.
All right. So my number 6 is The Uninvited. My number 5 is The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. My number 4 is The Black Cat. My number 3 is The Mummy. My number 2 is The Invisible Man Returns. And my number 1 is The Bride of Frankenstein.
Nice. All right. So my number 6 is The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. My number 5 is The Black Cat. My number 4 is The Mummy. My number 3 is The Invisible Man Returns. My number 2 is The Bride of Frankenstein. And my number 1 is The Uninvited.
Wow, nice.
My number 6 is The Black Cat. My number 5 is Sweeney Todd. My number 4 is The Invisible Man Returns. My number 3 is Bride of Frankenstein. My number 2 is The Mummy. And my number 1 is The Uninvited.
Wow, nice.
Okay, and our ranking is, we had a tie, so we're starting at number 5, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Number 4, The Black Cat. Tied for number 3, The Mummy and The Invisible Man Returns. At number 2, The Uninvited, and at number 1, Bride of Frankenstein.
Not a bad list there. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking, I was like, Invisible Man Returns and The Mummy, I think are like right around the middle.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the right 2 movies were like 1 and 2. So even though I would have put The Uninvited number 1, I'm not mad at it being number 2 because Bride of Frankenstein is a classic, and then Sweeney Todd just, it is what it is, and The Black Cat just not really that interesting of a movie. So yeah, this is a good
I think I wanted more from The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, also because you couldn't really get like the gore of it and stuff, so it was less of a horror than the musical.
Yeah.
It's hard with these old British movies that just like have not been transferred very well. Like we're kind of spoiled with some of these nicer movies like that have just been like very nicely preserved and like beautifully transferred and everything. So
yeah, like when you have like The Uninvited on Criterion and they're like, this is literally the best you can watch this movie.
Yeah.
We took care of it.
And then you have the Sweeney Todd. I had to watch like a bootleg version on YouTube that somehow looked better than the Tubi version.
Oh wow!
I believe that. Sometimes the Tubi version is like unwatchable.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right. So great guys. This was our 30s and 40s like first wing of our 31 days, and we have 24, 26 whatever movies to go, and really excited to go on to the 50s and the 60s. And we've already, if you are wondering what the whole movies were, we have a whole video where we did a reveal of what our 31 days is, so you can go watch that, and we actually discuss our excitement for some of the movies and things, and go check out other stuff on the channel. I'm trying to bring back a lot of our older episodes, especially like we did a whole Buffy series where we got Hunter and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and just talked about it, and then we have a lot of other like reviews, and we're trying to do other like roundups for newer movies, but we just haven't really gotten to a lot of them yet, but we'll try to squeak those out maybe in November after we're done with this series. And then we'll be doing our award show. So
yeah, I'm so excited for the awards this year. Also check out Horror Headlines, a new series that I brought over from Why We Love Horror. John Marr did that show a little while ago, and it's back now, and it's just me doing it, talking about news every single Friday right here on the channel. I also upload shorts so you guys can see the short content as well. Thank you so much for engaging with that one as well. Super excited to get into more of these.
Yeah, and if you have any, if you've seen any of the movies we talked about today, have any thoughts, or you're excited about watching any of them now that you've heard us talking about them, hopefully we didn't spoil that much for you. Go ahead and let us know what you thought in the comments. And Carrie, if Carrie doesn't have anything else to add, then Hunter, close it out.
All right, so if you guys did enjoy this, please hit the like button, subscribe to Welcome to Primetime, and remember, stay scared.